Hey, what's up guys? It's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Traptrix deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an absolutely insane control deck that has so many counters to today's meta. It's super fun to be able to play, and I've included all sorts of really awesome tech cards in this build. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Traptrix Marmelio. This card is a great 3-of in the deck that is one of the best normal summons in the entire build. Now, this card has the ability that when this card is normal summoned, you can add a whole normal trap card from your deck to your hand, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to search out a bunch of extremely powerful trap cards. This card also has the ability, if this card is special summoned, you can target a spell or trap card that your opponent controls and destroy that target, which is a great effect to be able to have a special summon MST. I then play 3 copies of Traptrix Mantis. This card is a great 3-of in the deck as well that has the ability that when this card is normal summoned, you can add a Traptrix monster from your deck to your hand, making this card essentially the Rhoda of the deck, which is really good to get the exact Traptrix monster you need when you need it. She also has the ability that once per turn, quick effect, you can target one set spell or trap card that you control and return that target to the hand, and then you can set a spell or trap card from your hand, which is a pretty good effect, especially if your opponent's targeting one of your cards to try and get rid of it. You can just bounce it back to your hand and then reset it to the field, which is a great effect on this card. We then play 2 copies of Traptrix Dionia. This card is a great 2-of in the deck. You only really need 2 copies of this card, but she's a really good 2-of that when this card is normal summon, you can target a Traptrix monster in your graveyard and special summon that target into defense position, which is a great effect just to bring back one of your Traptrix on your side of the field to either make a rank 4 play or go into a link monster, which is really cool. This card also has the ability, when this card is special summon, you can target a normal whole trap card in your graveyard and set that target to field, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn if it's still on the field, which is a pretty good effect that basically you have to use it. We then play a single copy of Traptrix Vesiculo. Vesiculo is just a 1-of in this deck. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card, but it's a really good 1-of in the deck that has the ability that you can send a set trap card you control to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And if you control no cards in your spell and trap card zone, you can manage this card from your graveyard and then target a whole normal trap card in the grave and set it to your field, which is a pretty good effect. But this card is easy to get to, which is why I just play this card as a 1-of. I then play 3 copies of Parallel XZ. Parallel XZ is a really good card to help us make more rank 4 plays because it has a really good effect that if you link summon, you can special summon this card to a zone that link monster points to, which is a pretty good effect, and then special summon an additional copy of Parallel XZ from your deck to your side of the field, and then they both become level 4 with 1000 attack and 1000 defense, which is a great effect to just immediately get a link monster on your side of the field, special summon this card to your side of the field, and then get another copy of this card to make a rank 4 play or even climb into a link 3 monster depending on what you summoned, which is a really good effect. I then play 2 copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Lord of the Heavenly Prison is a great boss monster for the deck. It's just really good at protecting your back row because this card has the ability that during your main phase you can activate this effect. This card becomes revealed until the end of the opponent's turn, and when this card is revealed by this effect, set cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects, essentially protecting your back row from cards like Harpy's Feather Duster. And if a set spell or trap card is activated except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then if you activate its effect while this card was revealed, you can reveal and set one spell or trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. And you can only use one Lord of the Heavenly Prison effect per turn and only once that turn. This card is really good to just reveal to the opponent, not even special summon it, but protect your back row. So this card is a definite 2-of in this build because we can actually search it from the deck with cards like Gallant Granite that we play in the extra deck. I then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is just the best hand trap in the entire game, so this card is a definite 3-of in the build just to stop the opponent from searching the deck. And then for the last 3 monsters, I'm playing 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter because it's not too big of a deal to play this card in the deck to be able to shut down the opponent, because a lot of decks running around right now are graveyard reliant, so activating this card usually means you win the game, which is really cool because you have no cards in your graveyard. Quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the grave, and until the end phase phase of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. And it's super easy for this deck to play around that, so this card is a definite 3-of in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the traps, because we actually don't play a single spell in this deck, which is really crazy. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Floodgate Trap Hole. Floodgate Trap Hole is a really good card, because it has the ability, when your opponent summons a monster or monsters, change those monsters to face down defense position, and monsters changed to face down defense position by this card effect cannot change their battle position, which is really good, especially if your opponent normal summons a card that they really need on their side of the field. You can just flip it into face down defense position and you don't have to deal with it until later, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Grave Trap Hole. This card is a really good 3-of. This card basically is like a Called by the Grave version in a trap form, which is really cool, because when your opponent activates a monster effect in their hand or graveyard, or when your opponent banishes monster effect is activated, negate that effect, and if you do, inflict 1200 or 2000 points of damage to your opponent, which is just crazy powerful. This card is so good in the deck. It does burn damage to your opponent, it stops hand traps, and it's just an absolutely insane card. We then play 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. This card is really good in the deck because it lets you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish a monster from both players' fields that have the same type as each other, which is a really good effect, because if your opponent has a really powerful monster in the graveyard that you've already outed, you can just bring it back to your side of the field and then banish another monster that your opponent controls of the same type. Or you can actually keep the monster to use as a really big beat stick, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. So I'm actually maining this card. This card is really easy to play in the deck, especially with the amount of trap cards we play. And essentially you can turn an entire turn off for your opponent with this card. So this card is a definite 3 of the build, because you can declare one type, either Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exy, or Pendulum, and for the rest of the turn, neither player can summon monsters with the declared type, and also you negate the effects of all monsters with that type when they're on the field, which is a crazy awesome effect. I then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is just a really good hand trap to be able to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down columns, which is really cool. I then play 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. Brigandine is a really good card because it gives us an additional level 4 on our side of the field, because you can special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster that's a Warrior Dark level 4, 0 attack, 300 defense, and you can also activate this card the same turn it was set if you don't have another trap card in your graveyard. And with cards like Dimensional Shifter, you're already going to be banishing a bunch of your cards, so this card does come in extremely handy, because you might not have anything in your graveyard at all besides a copy of Dimensional Shifter. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike is just really good in the deck, because when an opponent's monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, you pay 15 or life points to negate the summon or activation. If you do, destroy that card. So this card is a definite 3-of in the build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck, which has changed up a lot since the last time I profiled it. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Traptrix Sarah. I've bumped this card down to 2. I really want to play 3 copies of it, but I just cannot find the room for the 3rd copy of this card. But it is a good 3-of in the deck, but for right now, I'm just playing 2 copies of it, and it's been working out really well. This card is really easy to summon because it just takes any Traptrick monster to link summon this card. It has a really cool effect that this link summon card is unaffected by the effect of trap effects, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, and during not during the damage step. And that if a normal trap card is activated, you can special summon a Traptrick monster from your deck with a different name than the cards that you control. And if your other Traptrick monster effect is activated, you can set a whole normal trap card directly from your deck, which is a pretty good effect because we can put our copy of Grave Trap Hole or our copy of Floodgate on our side of the field. I then play a single copy of the Link 2 Traptrick monster. This card is just a really good 1-of the deck. I don't summon it all that often, but it's a pretty good card to play as a 1-of because it's just a really awesome card. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is super easy to summon this deck. It's how we close out games, and it's just a really good boss monster to be able to pop cards. You can play copies of Boral Sword if you want to, but Access Code is just too good in this deck. I then play a single copy of Unicorn to spin stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps, and a single copy of IP Mask Granted to go into my copy of Unicorn during the opponent's turn, which is really, really good to be able to spin cards along with all of the trap cards we're playing in the deck. One copy of Link Spider, because if you open up your copy of, say, Shade Brigandine and a copy of Parallel Z, you can actually special summon out the copy of Shade Brigandine, make this, and since you Link Summon, you can special summon out Parallel Z and the second Parallel Z to be able to make a copy of, say, IP Mask Granted or a rank 4 play, which is really cool. I then play a single copy of Rafflesia. Rafflesia is just a great rank 4 in the deck to be able to summon to your field, because basically if you meet the requirements for a trap hole card or a hole card, you can basically send it from the deck to the graveyard to immediately activate it. So this card is a definite one-of in the deck. One copy of Abyss Dweller just to lock down graveyards, along with Dimensional Shifter and Dimensional Barrier. This card just basically locks down the entire game, which is really nice. One copy of Gallant Granite. This is so we can search our protection in the form of Lord of the Heavenly Prison, which is really good. One copy of Time Thief Redoer. Redoer is really good because it's just a great rank 4 in the deck. One copy of Utopia. Utopia helps us make our copy of Utopia the Lightning, so we can go in for 5,000 attack points, which is really an insane amount to be able to make with our copy of Utopia the Lightning. And then finally, a single copy of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is just a board wipe, which is really good in the deck that you can make on top of any monster that is a rank 4, which is really cool that we play in the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a super fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Traptrix, it's really a fun deck. It does absolutely insane things, being able to stop the opponent at every pass, which is really fun. And with a new structure deck coming out soon, this deck is going to be absolutely crazy. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.